And then Jim is wired for sound here. He's got his
Right.
wireless mic on, and he's going to do the topic of the decade, which is Grep styles and InDesign.
Evidently the topic of the decade.
Yes, we're going to record this for posterity, and we're going to edit it together so that anybody could come along and say, what is KC Design Corps even doing nowadays? They could watch this. So, you know, hopefully the back of your head won't be an issue. We don't need to do model releases for your hair, that kind of thing. So please welcome Jim Hinds. Jim, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I don't know how I ended up being the Grep expert. A couple of years ago for the December meeting, I did a presentation, 5-minute presentation on Grep. One little thing that I pulled out of a cookbook and used, and everybody was like, "Ooh, that's so cool. I want to do that too. You must be the Grep expert." So whenever anybody's had a Grep question, Buck tells them to call me. So I've that's how I became an expert. But I tell you what I'm really expert at is knowing where to go on the web to find the right presentation. There's a person called Carrie Jansen who does just wonderful presentations on Grep. CarrieJansen.com. There'll be some handouts that I send around later that will have her name and address on them, so you can go there and get it from the original person instead of my redone Grep presentation here. So I didn't want to take all the credit for it. But, you know, what is Grep? It's an acronym for Global Regular Expression Parser, which comes out of the 70s. A regular expression was a certain pattern that you would look for in a long document. And originally it was regular expression printer. It would go through this long document, find that pattern, and print it out for you. Now it's built into InDesign so that you can use this to go through a long document, find certain things, and change them. I mean, you can look for date and time, numbers separated by a slash. You can look for prices, either dollar signs or cents. You can look for text formatted as a web address. You could look for text between parentheses. You can look for text formatted as a phone number, so on and so on and so on. Two places you can use Grep in InDesign, one of which is in the Find Change box. You can use the Grep part of the Find Change box, tell it what to find, what to change it to. You can locate, you know, you can discover text based on pattern, you can locate numbers, you can find a pattern like what I call the fake IP number. Phone number is, you know, 816.777.2247. We get a lot of that into the newspaper where I work, and they want us to use the Bell format. You know, area code with parentheses around it, a space, the first 3 numbers, a dash. You can also use Grep in setting up paragraph styles. And you can tell it as you're typing along. Every time I type in my company's name, I want it to be in bold and red. And I'll show you a demonstration of that later. It's pretty cool. As you type along, suddenly the word changes. There are huge numbers of meta characters that are used with Grep. And you can, when you go to make a fine change or set up your Grep in the paragraph styles, this little character here will take you to all sorts of things where it's like saying, if you want it to look for any digit in a certain pattern, click here, it'll put it into your fine change definition. And I'm going to pass out a couple of handouts here. And if you'll pass this around this way, and you pass this one around this way, one of those shows all the different things that are underneath these triangles. The other one is just a list of meta characters. Because there are all these meta characters, there are some of them that are reserved for Grep. And if you're telling your Grep definition that you want to have it look for an asterisk, which is one of the meta characters, to tell it to look for an actual asterisk as opposed to the meta character, you have to escape it with a backslash. So, you know, if you're looking for a backslash, you have to do backslash, backslash, and so on. This only applies to the find what and the grep style definitions, not to the change to. So if you're wanting to put an asterisk in whatever it changes it to, you don't need to have that. All right, here's our first cookbook recipe. Changing the fake IP to the Bell style of phone number. So what you're telling it to do here is actually, yeah, you're telling it to find any character or any digit, any digit, any digit, followed by an actual period. Then find any digit, any digit, any digit, followed by an actual period, and 4 any digits. The parentheses are in there to tell Grep to save what you found here, because we're going to put it back in later. And so you change it to parentheses and what you found in this first expression, followed by, this is the meta character for a space, followed by what you found in the 2, followed by a dash, followed by what you found in 3. And I've got a little demonstration set up here where I've gone through and done this. I mean, I have phone numbers in here, but I've also got actual IP addresses. I've got like telephone numbers. So there's all these different number things that it could look for when it goes through this. But the way that we've set that up, it's going to look for 3 numbers and a dot, 3 numbers and a dot, 4 numbers. And what I've done with this, okay, so I'm not moving as quick as I'm talking here on my demo, but on the other hand, I'm not fumbling to try to find things. So I've actually got this set up in here already, but once you've made one of these things, you can save it. And that's where the real power of this comes in. You build a search like this, and then you can use it over and over and over again. So you see I've named this query fake IP to Bell style. Same sort of definition we had on the previous thing. And what we're going to do here, just so you can see it real easy when it comes in, I've got it changing the format in here. When it changes it, it's going to make it into red, which doesn't show up great on this thing. So I do a find, then change all. And once you say OK, all the phone numbers are set up in the format you want, but it doesn't do the IP addresses, it doesn't do the times, or change anything else.
Jim,
Yeah.
would this be available to download to somewhere?
Right now I have it as a PowerPoint presentation, but what Buck is talking about is we're going to do the whole thing as like one video sort of demonstration that you can get to and download.
Camtasia's yours?
Yeah.
And then we'll post the file itself too.
Okay.
Right. And Tom?
Back on where you use the backslash period,
Yeah.
the reason you use backslash is because the period represents any character.
Right.
backslash makes.
Right. On the meta character sheet, if you look at that, for find any character is a period. So if you just used a period without the backslash, it would be looking for anything in between numbers. Okay, this is the one that I made the demonstration of back 3 years ago in December. We were doing our people on the move in the newspaper in a different style, where we had embedded photos in a long column of stuff. This right here, this character is beginning of a paragraph. The period following it is any character. This is changed to this tilde C is what's on the clipboard, and this $0 is find what you found at the beginning of the paragraph before that first character. In the demonstration, you'll see it a little bit easier. What it is like if you copy an icon or a picture, and then you use this in your type, it will embed that icon or picture in your type wherever you've told it. What I'm showing this for is to show the, with the find change, you can tell it to find only a certain paragraph style. So that you can tell it, okay, when you run across the name paragraph style, do this. Until you run across that paragraph style, don't do it. So when you've set up your document to begin with and you've put that paragraph style on it, you can use it to do this type of thing, which is probably going to move a whole lot slower than what I was really wanting. But what I have down here is just the Design Core logo. And I've got Buck's name and my name in a name paragraph style, or actually name and address. I forget which one I did right now. So we'll see it in a little bit. Okay, it's in name style. But I cut this. Disappears out of here. But I have set up the paragraph styles the way I want it. So then when I do that caret period, and I'm telling it to find format is paragraph style name, so it's going to look for the first character in that paragraph style. Okay, looks like I made some errors in this demo, and that won't be the first time, but usually I have a whole lot more trouble when I'm actually trying to do it in front of everybody. Move along now. I did not realize I could talk this much faster than I worked. I feel like I'm working so fast that...
This is much better than the opposite.
Is it?
Yes, nobody's going,
Yeah. Okay. Am I ready to do the find yet? Evidently not. I'm still figuring out how to type a tilde. And I should have just let you guys believe that I knew what I was doing when I was typing. Have this saved up here, bring it up. We'd go through it later, but...
You're command tabbing back and forth so you can look at the Google documents you looked at.
All right, now are we ready to change all? Oh, I just wanted to show, here's how you save it. You go up to the little floppy disk icon. Not sure why they're still using a floppy disk icon in anything, but there it is. Give it a name. That way, anytime you want to use it in the future, it's there and ready for you. And when you hit change all, it drops the icons in wherever that paragraph style was. For some reason, I cannot get my InDesign to default to dropping things down into the paragraph. I'm not sure what I'm hitting wrong or whether it's just difficult, but I mean, you can go in to anchored object and options, change it here. I think I dropped it down like -3 points or 3 picas, and that kind of sets it in like that, but you know, not something that you have to do. Okay, here is the part of Grep that I had the most trouble with. Look aheads and look behinds. When I'm thinking of the word I want to change, look ahead would be something that came before it in the paragraph. Look behind would be something that came after it in the sentence. And that's not the way it works. If the word you want to change is here, you think of yourself standing on top of that word and looking to the end of the sentence, so that the stuff before it in the sentence is look behind, the stuff after it in the sentence is look ahead. Took me forever to figure that out. Without Carrie Jansen, I might still be trying to, okay, look ahead didn't work, I'll try look behind. So one of the things you can do with this, there's look ahead, look behind, positive, and negative. Positive is when you're telling it what to find in there. Negative is when you're telling it, if what I tell you is not there, change it. So a positive look ahead, it's like find father when it is preceded by grand. So this part here is the positive look ahead meta character. And then you're telling it grandfather. Change it to poobah, which is what my granddaughter calls me, grand poobah. So here's what it does. It goes through, it finds all the fathers, which is this part here. And then wherever it was grandfather, it changes it. Okay, Grep styles. Brenda, here's what you and I play with a lot. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on these, simply because it's really the same sort of thing in the find change, except there's a whole lot of debugging involved. This is like a language from the 1970s. You set up something, you try it, and that didn't work. What did I do wrong? And you try something else, and you keep going till you get it.
And then you email it to Jim because you can't figure it out.
And then Jim takes what you sent me, and I look on the web, and I go, okay, has anybody run into this problem before? Do you have an answer?
It's so simple sometimes.
Well, the last thing I've got here is that one of yours that was like, both of us messed with it for who knows how long, trying to figure it, the italic within the parentheses.
Oh, okay.
And that one was just telling it to find the shortest match, but
Yeah.
neither one of us could figure it out at first. But this is kind of an interesting thing in that it's dynamic. You can set it up to where it will work as you type or as you flow something in, if someone else has typed up your copy for you. I'm going to set up a Grep style here called Design Core. And what this is going to do is change things to a bold italic, 18 point instead of 12 point, and put it in color. That is a character style that I want the thing to show up in as I type in a separate paragraph style. So we set up the paragraph style, calling it something like Design Core Bold. Every time you type Design Core, it's going to show up bold. The regular type in here is 12 point on 22. But we go down to Grep style anytime. And we're going to apply that design core character style to the text design core. So now as I type, yes, I can type. I know I can. Yeah, wanted you to be able to see it. Now ist. Yeah. So, you see, until I get to the end of the word, till it matches the whole expression, it stays normal type. Then when I get to the end, boom. So it's kind of fun to show off with this. Thank you. And what I was showing with this, until you get to the end, it doesn't change. If you do some word that's close to it but not quite the same, it won't do it if you don't have the same alphabetizing.
So you can make it case sensitive.
Yeah.
And if you go back and change it to what you want, then it still works.
Right.
And it's not like you...
Right, and if you had a whole bunch of copy that had design core sprinkled throughout it, you could flow it all in, then apply this paragraph style, and they'd all change at once.
So if you had lower caps, you would find that and change it to, or no?
I don't know. Haven't tried.
I'm sure there's a correct way to do that where you change it, the capitalization style too.
Right. I'm not sure if Grep works with, you know, the newer fonts that have like small caps built in.
There's
So
an attribute, there's a small caps attribute, so you can do bold and color and italics and all that.
Yeah,
You
you
should be
can
able
put
to
that
do
in your
small
character.
caps.
You can put that in your character style when you're applying to it. And make it
right. You could make it small caps
Yeah, but
in the
yeah,
output, but
there's probably a grep thing to make it change case, is what I'm saying. I don't
Yeah,
know
but
that.
I don't think it'll change the small caps. It'll change,
have it in front of you.
well, I was just looking, I don't, you think you can tell it to specifically look for a small cap unless you're looking for a character style that has small caps in it.
Okay.
But you
But
could
you can
fix,
do
like,
upper
if people mistyped iPhone, you know, with a capital I and a lowercase b, you could say, anytime you run into that, always change it to lowercase I, capital B.
Yeah.
Once you
Okay.
had all of those, if you wanted them to go to red, would you just go into that character style, change it to red, and it would automatically change them all?
Yep.
Right.
You wouldn't have to like search it again and reapply it.
I don't think so, no. So, I mean, that's what's cool about it, and that's why Brenda uses it so much. I mean, you're dealing with what, huge documents?
Yeah, I'm working on a 600-page curriculum manual right now that I think after they've seen it, they're going to say, hey, I want everything in parentheses to be italic. And
Okay.
I'm just waiting for them to say that so I can go in and do
Change it all at
Yeah.
once here,
Tell them
get
it
to
took
them.
hours and
Oh.
hours.
Well, I'm not getting paid for this. For my church.
So, here was your original Grep expression, which was, you know, find an actual open parentheses and a close parentheses, and apply an italic style to that. And she used it when she first started typing. Parentheses were there, it went italic. Started typing some more, hit another parentheses, suddenly everything was italic in between the first closed and the last closed. And you sent that to me, and I started searching the web, and about a half hour later I ran across one of Carrie Jensen's things where she showed what you need to do was tell it to find this question mark, shortest match. So it looks for the closest italic or parentheses, makes that italic, then looks for the next one, rather than everything in between the first and the last. And that's really all I've prepared at this point because I am no expert. If you've got questions, I'll be glad to take them, but I'm probably going to go home and look it up on the web and answer you later. I mean, Grep is really a programming language that was done originally in the 70s. Isn't that correct, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was developed at Bell Labs to help them go through all their big programming stuff and find things. But if you've got questions, I'll try to answer them.